What's going on, ghouls and gals, creeps and freaks? This is your host, Josh Morris, co-host Stacy Talich next to me over here. Welcome to the Everything Paranormal Show. Welcome to the Halloween version, so to speak, our Halloween special. So don't go anywhere. You're not going to want to go anywhere. We're going to be discussing the origins of Halloween. I'm super excited about it. If you've ever wondered how Halloween came to be, a lot of people have some misconceptions. They think, well, it came from this particular thing or this particular thing. We're going to cover that. We're going to set you straight on everything. This is all research. This is all things that's, happened over the thousands of years. We'll talk about it. Stacy, how the hell are you tonight?
Doing good. It's getting crisp around here, and which is, really nice for the fall. Really can't wait for, winter to come around because I'm so tired of humidity. So
yeah, I guess I could understand that where you are, but here I don't like winter. I like spring through fall because I'm in the mountains and dealing with snow, it sucks. Like, so you don't want to slip off the road. You don't want to. I mean, we don't get like a ton of snow because we are in Tennessee, but we do get a good. We have our moments for sure in the winter.
That's the main reason I moved out of Chicago. I moved to Louisiana because I really, really, really hate snow. So,
well, yeah, the snow in Chicago coming off of Lake Michigan, like you literally can make tunnels for vehicles in it. It gets so deep.
Yeah, and it's not regular snow. It's what they call lake effect snow, which is more like ice crystals that you get hit in the face with it. It's like getting bird shot right in your face. It hurts.
I've been to Chicago a couple times, and I did get to go in the winter once. And like I grew up south of Detroit in Michigan, and we had a lot of winters. We have Lake Erie, but you don't have that same lake effect as the west side of Michigan, like and where Chicago is off Lake Michigan. So yeah, I know what you mean because I went there for like one of the winters. I visited Chicago at night, and it was like wind was blowing, snow was coming. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, this is worse than I've ever seen in Michigan. I was like, holy crap. I mean, Michigan, yeah, we've had some rough times, but there was something different about it for sure. Yeah. So I see you. Good to see you. You're here early this evening. That's awesome. I love snow except for driving and shoveling. Exactly. As a kid, loved it, all that stuff. As an adult, yeah, like maybe when it first falls, yeah, it's pretty. But then after that, it's like, I got to go deal with it. So that's the reality of life, unfortunately. So, but yeah, we're going to be, I'm really excited about tonight's show. Folks, we got a lot going on because we got a lot to cover. So we're going to dive into it. Watch through this whole video because we're not only going to be covering the origins of Halloween from back then to modern times. We're going all the way through the times. I mean, of course, not literally, like it's not going to take thousands of years to do this video, but we're going to jump through time. Also, I am going to show you guys a little something, and we're going to be doing a giveaway. Yeah, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So don't go anywhere because by the end of the show, one of you is going to be getting a very unique print from Fantasy Realm Art. The guy does amazing work, and he gave us some prints to give away. We're going to give one out. This is a special day, so we're going to finally give one out. So now, if you don't want to give us your address, like mailing address and all that, then you'll have to pass up because if you win it, we need to be able to ship it to you. All right, so just keep that in mind. But good luck, everybody. It's going to be fun. I want to give one away, and I'm not sure if I'm going to give you guys a choice if we're going to pick one for Halloween. I don't know yet. Maybe we'll have Stacy pick one. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Well, right now,
One for myself? Don't I get
Huh?
that one? Don't I get one for myself?
No.
No.
No, I know it sucks. I wanted to keep all of them because they're so good. They're so good. But let's get into the origins of Halloween. We're gonna do a giveaway. Don't go anywhere. We may give it away in the middle of the show. I don't know. I'm feeling crazy tonight. It's Halloween coming up in a few days. And also, I'm gonna show you guys a little short film, a little trick or treat called Trick or Sheet. We're gonna check that out. And may even have a little bonus special for you guys too. So a lot going on. All right, so don't go anywhere. As I said all that, I told people don't go anywhere. I saw viewers leave. Thanks, jerks. I'm just kidding. You're always welcome to come and go. We love you. All right. So to understand Halloween, you have to understand that I'm going to tell you right now a little bit of spoiler alert. Okay, Halloween is not just from one exact thing. Okay. So if you hear people citing one thing, that could be a part of it. But Halloween actually has a very crazy turn of events and history. There's a lot that went into it. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So the first thing we have to look at, what's sort of the first precursor, right? What sort of started maybe that idea, that time frame. And really, when a lot of historians go back, it's thousands of years ago, and it goes back to the old Celtic calendar. Now, if you guys see me look down, yes, I'm cheating. I have a lot of notes. All right, sorry, I forget a lot of this stuff half the time. My mind is just. But anyways, it goes back to the old Celtic calendar. Okay, the Celtic calendar was really, in a generic term, was divided up into a light half and a dark half. They would have their festival, their Samhain festival. Okay, now this is not spelled like this. If you look it up, it's like Samhain or Samhain or whatever. If you try
Samhain. Samhain. Yeah, it doesn't look anything like the way it's spelled.
Right, but it's like really, it's the way that they say it's pronounced like Samhain.
Yeah.
So they have their festival. It's this ancient holiday, and again, this was the precursor to our Halloween, because what they were celebrating was they were celebrating the end of the light and the beginning of the dark. And you have to remember, back then, a lot of these Celts, they were farmers. I mean, life was different then. They didn't have modern conveniences. So villages literally lived and died by their crops, by their food, by their livestock, all these things. So for them, at the end of that time, it was like you're sort of celebrating the harvest, the crops, making it through those times. And now that you have that crop, then they would go into the dark times, the winter, and of course live off their fists. Now, if they didn't have a good year, you know what I mean? They could die. I mean, can you imagine if you didn't have a good year, you could end up dying. I mean, you could starve to death or something. So these folks were very rich in celebration, because they also, whether it was superstition or not, they wanted to celebrate that. They felt like they needed to celebrate that to their gods, their ancient holiday, right? So they did it on October 31st. All right. Now, one of the ways that they would do this, now they also believed too that this was the time when the veil would thin. Everybody hears about the veil and the thinning of the veil. The Celts were very much big into that at this time of year. They knew that the veil thinned, and they knew that the dead and the living would start to almost intermingle. And sometimes they believed you could even get lost into the dead. The living could cross in through the veil and get lost. So they were kind of one of those first type people that really talked about the veil between the living and the dead. And it was very much set in their ways. Again, spirits of past, present, and even other realities they talked about could walk into our world, and we could walk into theirs during this time frame. So that's really interesting. So one of the familiar icons that would also start to come out of this back then was, they would celebrate and have these huge bonfires. Remember, there was no streetlights back then. So they would have these huge bonfires, and the bonfires would attract insects. And of course, bats would attract insects. So if you like look behind me, the iconic bat of Halloween, right? This is one of those first sort of iconic things. The bats would show up, swoop around, getting the insects and stuff. So it just started to become associated with like the Samhain festival, and you know what I mean. So this is where we started seeing that first sign of the bat. Um, Now, before I start blending into a little bit, Stacey, do you have any thoughts on the Celts and that time frame?
No, you're nailing the Celts. Great. But the thing that you're missing here is this wasn't just a regional thing in the European area. You go back even further, thousands of years before, in Babylonia, Rome, Egypt. They all had a similar festival time of the year, a harvest festival, but they also had a festival dedicated specifically for children, where children were considered for one day. It was like king for a day kind of thing.
Right.
Children were given the authority to boss the adults around and get whatever they wanted on that day. And usually it would, involve sweets and being waited on hand and foot, that kind of thing, where the children were given special elevation for one day. And it butted right up against the harvest festival. And the bonfire for the harvest festival in ancient Babylon it wasn't just a fire. They would have these giant bricks of hashish that they would throw on the bonfire. And the bonfire itself was more smoke than fire because of the hashish that they had combined together. And the robes that the priests wore were slit down the sides, almost all the way down the sides, so they could take the backside of their robes, hold it over their head, and do this chant where the smoke would like get inside, and while they're doing their spells or whatever it is, all the hashish smoke would get them in a state of euphoria. And this festival, the harvest festival they would have, was carried on, all around the world, hereafter, because that's a really great party.
Right.
And, it was a big trading post, in Egypt specifically, where the rest of the world, got in on the action.
Right.
And
well, it's funny that you did bring up that, because the next thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that, yes, there was many other cultures around even that same time and earlier that had their own versions of festivals as well. But I think the reason why we bring up the Celts is because of the October 31st and those type of things in the veil. They were really very much about the veil, and all those other versions. Again, this is where all of that worldly stuff starts to come together.
Well, on that too, these festivals all had like really around the same, not October 31st specifically, but within October and early November. It was more astrology based than what we understand as being October. That this calendar that we have now is completely different than what it was back then.
Sure.
The star system that gave birth to all of this was the Pleiadian constellation. And back in the day, there was 13 astro-signs. We got 12 of them today, but there were 13 before. And Focus, I can't pronounce it correctly. Orpheus was the 13th, and it's actually kind of a sliver. It's not a full, month like what we have now for all the rest of them. It was very erratic in how they chopped it up into the 13.
Right.
Which eventually was the reason why they dropped it and just went with 12. It was so much easier. But yeah, the Pleiadian constellation marks a time where in ancient Babylon and in Egypt, they talked about a great flood that took place when the Pleiadian constellation came over the horizon. It marks a time where there was massive death. It basically was a death cult that they gave honor to, and the thinning of the veil and all the fear that would actually come every year, because that was That's what you needed to be afraid of, was the Pleiadian constellation. It was a mark of tragedy and destruction and things of that kind, which, carry it forward today. We have the same in Wall Street. They're very suspicious or superstitious in September, October, and November. That's when everything, if it's going to go to shit in the stock market, it does it in one of those 3 months. Traditionally, that's the way it's been since the beginning of this country. So it's a time of year in which tragedy, happens, and the festival is supposed to prevent, that sort of thing from happening. It's sort of a conjuring kind of, if we, give honor to it, it won't hit us. So, at least going way back, that's the thinking of why this time of year was particularly, death, the thinning of the veil, honoring children, all these things that, it is sort of something in our genetic memory that we do not want to relive ever again. So,
yeah. Well, and also too, that this was that transitional time period, because think about the people that lived at this time when everything revolved around, again, crops, life, everything, the trees, the season change. I mean, think about even trees. The trees start losing their leaves. Again, I know that's not universal through the world, but the season change are fairly around the world. But everything starts looking dead. There's just an air about that time of year in that fall time where things make that change.
Mm-hmm.
As we start to move forward, and again, I think October 31st for the Samhain Festival, obviously that's going to be as we start moving up in the years, and they have to say, hey, what day do we want to, can we nail this on? And that October 31st was the day that they had nailed that Samhain Festival to.
Mm-hmm.
So the Christian church, okay, now this is where, again, you get some of these people that talk about Christians and whether they celebrate Halloween or not. Well, guess what? We're going to get into some interesting facts about the Christian church back then. So the Christian church actually would be the ones to really start to introduce and shaping some of the traditions we now use. Okay. I know that sounds crazy to some people. They're like, what? The Christian church? Well, remember back then, if you really weren't Christian, a lot of times they would call you pagan. Didn't mean you're necessarily devil worshippers or something. But anyways, a pagan holiday called Lemuria was on May 13th. And it was actually co-opted by the church in an effort to rid. It was around 609 AD, by the way, just to give you a time frame. But they attempted to sort of rid paganism, right? Christians wanted to spread Christianity. Lemuria was actually one of the scariest days of the year on the Roman calendar. The ghosts of the departed would actually come up and haunt people. Okay. Now remember, this is May 13th. So just keeping that in mind. So what people did as a tradition, they actually, to quell the dead, they would the pagan Romans would actually go and pour milk on some of the graves and offer little cakes. So they did an offering, right? A little, pour some milk, some cake. And well, of course, when the church got involved and tried to hijack it, right, they actually changed it to All Saints Day, okay, to a day to honor the most holiest of Christians. Now, they did keep some of the traditions, some of the offerings and things like that. Again, remember, this is where we're starting to see a little bit of the shaping of what's starting to, again, head on down the road. And again, this was a really big success. A lot of people started to forget about Lemuria and started to become Christianized. They started celebrating the All Saints Day and having like the little cakes and milk and all that stuff. It became sort of a fun thing. In fact, it got so popular that the church decided, hey, let's move this to November 1st. Okay. So they actually moved it, and they went, and then and the name actually changed to All Hallows Day. And because Samhain fell on October 31st, people actually started calling it All Hallows Evening. Okay. And then eventually, over the years, it did shorten to All Hallows Even, then eventually Halloween. Okay, so back up. So the church actually went another step further. They also added All Souls Day, which was on November 2nd, to honor everyday Christians. This was to honor everybody, because at first they were like, November 1st was like all the saints and all things. Well, I mean, that's cool and everything, but then they had to like really get the normal people involved, like regular people. So they did November 2nd, All Souls Day, and this was to honor, again, everyday Christians. So this is, again, where Halloween starts to really get its association with death. Because remember, this is all right there at that time frame. You had the Celt Festival, Hallows Eve, or eventually Halloween, which you had, where they're honoring the dead of the saints the next day. The second day on November 2nd was All Souls Day. Again, honoring everyday Christians that died. This was a thing about honoring death. So this is where we start really seeing that major association in that block of time for death and the supernatural. Now, in the Middle Ages, okay, as we get up in time a little bit here, now we're in the Middle Ages, okay, the church started to have people pray for souls that were in purgatory on All Souls Day. Remember All Souls Day? Mm-hmm. And so the prayers could actually set people out of purgatory. Mm-hmm. This also led to children going souling, okay? So they would actually go door to door, and they would ask for, remember those little cakes? Well, they would go door to door, these kids, and would ask for spiced cakes, and in return for prayers. That's pretty interesting there. Again, in the 16th century. Well, actually, before I really get into this, because we're about to get into a little bit of the witch panic, okay? And I know Stacy likes talking about some of this too. So, Stacy, do you have anything to cover about Lemuria and like the Christian hijacking there?
No, I mean, that's how ironically, the Catholic Church did more to preserve paganism than they did to eradicate it. Right. It's, the great cosmic joke.
Right. And that's why I like to bring all this to people's attention, because sometimes, and look, now everybody's different. I personally am a Christian, Now, do I make a great Christian by some standards? No, I'm sure. I know there's a lot of Christians out there like Josh, blah, 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 whatever. I don't care. Anyways. But I know that there's quite a few, not quite a few, but there's some Christians out there that sort of sometimes they get a little high and mighty. And then they're like, they don't celebrate, the devil, all this other crap. They don't truly understand Halloween and blah, blah, blah. But we'll get to that. So I just want to explain the church had a huge influence in the shaping of what we know as Halloween. Okay. Now, let's get into the witch panic. All right. So in the 16th century, there was a witch panic. Of course, women mostly that were seen in league with Satan. Okay. Now, these typically were possible healers using old world techniques like spells, enchantments, like cutting of roots, homebrewed medicines. It'd be probably like the equivalent today of like the people that do the holistic medicine, right? Things like that. And because I know people that do holistic medicine, they're not witches, but they believe in natural holistic medicines. Well, a lot of times these women were loners. They were probably a little different. They were holding on to a lot of the old world stuff, old world techniques. And, of course, and here's where I want to get your mind thinking about the iconic witch. Because the everyday household instruments became synonymous with the witch. Okay. Brooms. Okay. The brooms, classic thing. That's just something that was standard back then. And a lot of these women, they had the brooms. The cats, by the hearth. Remember, a lot of these women, a lot of times were unique. They weren't always married. Some were, but a lot of them were like loners. So they had cats. They were like the crazy cat lady that did the medicine stuff. Okay. So cats became, and of course, at that time, pointed hats. If you look up the style of clothing back then. These very similar pointed hats. Now, I wanted to have some pictures tonight, but I just didn't. I ran out of time. I was going to have some pictures, but guys, if you look it up, if you look up some of the clothing around the 16th century, you'll see that women had these very kind of pointy hats. Now, they're not like the witch hat typically, but again, very pointy kind of hats, and also cauldrons, right? Cauldrons. Everybody's like, oh, putting in the brews and stuff. Yeah, I mean, they probably had their cauldron. That was very popular back then. A lot of people actually had cauldrons, not just witches. That was some of their cooking stuff. But again, when you start to really take in what people started to view as a classic witch back then, they sort of profiled these women, right? There was a lot of them that had, again, the loner woman with the cat, the cauldron, the pointy hats, the old country hats that they would wear, all these things. This is what started to shape the witch as we know it today. Now, again, we know there was a lot more to the Salem witch trials. We could really go into a lot of that, which I'll let Stacey talk a little bit about some of that. But I really wanted to use this as an opportunity to get you guys to understand that a lot of these iconic symbols that we have for Halloween that shapes us with the witch, the ghost, the jack-o'-lantern, all these things we're going to cover. This is the witch part of the show where we're trying to get you to understand where some of the origins of why witches would be associated with these things. So, Stacey, before we get into, the Salem witch trials, though, and still a lot of this was mainly in Europe, by the way, too. A lot of this stuff in the 16th century with the panic, this was actually, again, in Europe first. So I just wanted to point that out too. Stacey, what do you want to add to that?
Well, a large part of it, and I'd give it 99% of it, was fueled by a singular book called The Malleus Maleficarium. It was written by primarily one guy, but another guy put his name to it, and got on the trend. But it was one of the most widely distributed books next to the Bible. Every church had a copy of it, and it gave accounts of what to look out for in, discovering witches. And there was a whole cottage industry created called, witch finder generals, who would travel from, village to village and charge an exorbitant fee to root out all the witches in their village. And of course, that's a conflict of interest all by itself. Guy comes into town saying, you give me a giant pile of money and I'll find your witches. He's going to find some witches, and he's going to profile people in the village who are outcasts, who are loners, who don't have any kind of political influence, who are, old and angry and curmudgeon. He's going to go after them. It's going to be just a lot of women, particularly because they're the most vulnerable anyway. But he has a profile that is written in black and white that he can point to and say, look, this is what a witch does. This is how you spot it. And this woman fits that profile, and that makes her guilty, and she has to prove her innocence. And they would do all kinds of different things to identify. If you have a mole that's a witch's teat, that you use to let your familiar suckle off of in all hours of the night. A familiar is a demon spirit taking the form of an animal of some kind. A cat, a frog, a toad, a lizard, doesn't really matter. It is something that is in proximity of you when you're caught. Whatever animal that happened to be. It could even be a bug. This spider must be, your familiar, that kind of thing.
Well, and so I do want to take a quick moment. Yes, I see you and Terrelyn. We are seeing your comments. Don't worry. Terrelyn did say I'd be considered a witch now. Well, I wouldn't let them come for you, or at least a few of them would definitely be dead before they could even, take us down. Trust me. All right. So an ICU, is hanging there. Halloween seems to have a double meaning. Yeah. So again, we're gonna we're going to get into that. It'll all come together soon, I promise. All right. So, of course, let's get into masks, right? Because this is also going to be similar time frames. So the origin of the mask kind of really started back in around the Middle Ages when destructiveness actually began to occur. So remember, we haven't got it. For some of you that kind of know, there seems to be a destructive element before Halloween, right? Sometimes they call it Devil's Night, things like that. Things get TP'd and all that. We're going to get into that more. Well, this is a little bit of that. But this also goes back to the origins of destructiveness and masks. So in the Middle Ages, when the destructiveness began to occur, it was for the rowdy drinkers on All Hallows Eve. So they'd be out celebrating, getting pissed. And also in Britain, some of the groups would put on masks. They would dress up and perform plays for people for food and drink and money at this time. So they would put on these masks, perform to get money and food. All right. This is going to be another important aspect of where we get into now, and that is in the 17th century. Okay, there really marked a time when rural traditions started to find their way into the cities. See, a lot of these traditions were still kind of like out in the country, right? The country folk, traditions and stuff, these parties and celebrations. The city people were better than that. But anyways, around that time, they started really making their way into the cities because of a character. Some of you may have heard of this person named Guy Fawkes. So Fawkes actually tried to blow up London's House of Lords November 5th, 1605. In fact, he tried to blow it up with 36 kegs of gunpowder, but he failed. He was stopped. He was tried, hung, drawn, and quartered, and tossed into a fire. So pretty harsh punishment for attempting to blow up their House of Lords. Well, anyways, unruly kids started to mock the memory of Guy Fawkes. And so every year, they would actually start causing chaos in the streets, parading, begging, and building bonfires. And of course, colonial Puritans in New England, in the good old New Americas there, they actually tried to stop these rituals because remember, these were all in Britain. But as some of these rituals were coming over the pond to the New Americas, well, colonial Puritans, this was like the leadership back then. The Puritans were the very strict religious order, and they were the ones really trying to like rule the New England, like New England back then. Mm-hmm. So the Puritans, they tried to stop a lot of these old traditions like the Guy Fawkes days and things, but still people would be out there, they would celebrate it, and it was embraced by the colonists. So, but the seeds were now planted to start shaping up our modern Halloween. Now, as we start to move through time, so again, now you can see some of the old world traditions have made it across the seas to America. People are sort of celebrating that November 5th. They're even celebrating again some of these. So you're talking from October 31st to November 5th was just this week period of darkness and the veil and ghosts and the living, the dead crossing over, trying to honor, dead saints, dead people. It was just all about dead, Guy Fawkes, all this stuff. And now things were taking on a rowdy element. They were starting to, get a little unruly for that. Now, as we start to approach in the 1800s, I want to kind of move a little more through time here. There was a description of a small party that was found in the history books around around 1833. There was a description in a book that was describing a small party where they actually would sit around and tell ghost stories. Remember, folks, they didn't have TV, they didn't have cable, obviously, they didn't have these things. So for them back then, entertainment was like singing and plays and dancing and, telling stories. ghost stories, things like that, and that's how a lot of our history, even though we were writing history down back then at that time, people were passing along history too. So why did ghost stories become even more popular? Well, later on in the 1800s, we had a big old thing called the Civil War, and America endured 4 years of one of the bloodiest conflicts that ever happened on our soil. Over 500,000 dead. Think about that. Over 500,000 dead. That is a lot of dead people on the eastern coast, on the eastern seaboard of the United States.
To be fair, most of them died of diarrhea.
Well, regardless of how they died, right? It don't matter.
Yeah.
A lot of them died. They were in a war, however they got it, in any case, they got it. So a lot of the bodies were unknown or unclaimed. I mean, again, they didn't have the internet. They didn't have the communication system, although there was a lot of documentation in the Civil War. One of the most documented wars ever, by the way. However, again, the country was actually obsessed with death at the time because, again, many of the ghost stories back then were of soldiers returning home. It was very common. So it was like that entertainment. It sort of evolved from dead soldiers coming back home in the form of a ghost. And again, these entertaining stories and people, so many people that had lost loved ones that were touched by the loss of a loved one. Again, this all hit home, and this was their main entertainment. Stacy, I'll let you. Do you want to add anything about I kind of covered Guy Fawkes and the Civil War, ghost story era and stuff.
To put it in perspective, in the Vietnam War, 250, half that number of American soldiers were killed. And if you ask the baby boomer generation, did you know somebody who died in Vietnam? And they will say, well, I knew somebody who knew somebody. It was, even with 250,000 soldiers, everybody had direct contact with someone who had perished in Vietnam.
Oh, yeah.
In the Civil War, you got twice that.
Right.
And a lot of times it was, multiple family members, brother against brother. Whole families were decimated.
And you only had really half the country that was a lot more densely populated because the West still was being settled, so to speak. It was still the Wild West a little bit and things like that.
Mostly unexplored.
Right.
I mean, Louisiana Purchase happened, just, a few years before that. So people were moving west, but it wasn't in, huge numbers by any means because it was, wild. There was no services whatsoever, no support. When you went out, you were totally off grid by yourself. That took a whole level of, even back then, a level of ruggedness that we just have no comprehension of.
Right.
And the east of the Mississippi was incredibly dense, but it's not even close to what we have today. It was the population of all of America was around 30 million. And we have 330 million today. And you chop off 500,000 off that 30, people, it really impacted the country in a big way, even if they never actually fought. It was someone died in that war that they knew. So whether it be a family member or a next door neighbor, it didn't matter. They knew somebody. So,
yeah. And so, all right. So let's look at the Civil War now, or right after the Civil War. Actually, let's do this. You guys have been so good. Let's take a quick commercial break. It sounds weird, right? I'm just kidding. I'm going to let you guys look. I'm going to let you guys watch my short film. Me and my wife, we made the short film called Trick or Sheet. We debuted it last year, last Halloween. So just wanted to show you guys in case you haven't seen it. Hello, happy Halloween. I love your costume. Very simplistic. I love the sheet. Would you like some candy? Hello? Hello? Okay. Just going to go back in. Oh, man. Did the end not show up? Oh, man. What happened in the end?
Oh,
That's crazy. I thought the whole thing was going to show up. Sorry, guys. Well, you'll have to just go to my YouTube channel and watch the end of it then. There you go. Yeah, I left you on a cliffhanger. So
you got BRS Media. Say, hey, brother. Or hi, brother.
What's up, Rich? What's going on? It's good to see Rich. I hope you're doing well, brother. Rich has gone through some rough times right now, and so definitely send some prayers his way. I hope he's doing better. I hope you're doing better. I hope your mom's doing all right too. So I'm glad to see Rich in the chat. In fact, it's funny that Rich is here because back when he was doing his podcast, it was it's been probably 3 years now ish or so. I actually came on his podcast and did the very first Origins of Halloween with him. So that's pretty cool. Good to see you make it in here, Rich. Okay, where were you? Okay, so yeah. So I showed you guys that. Sorry about the ending. I was going to show you the whole thing. I didn't know it got cut off somehow because I thought I did the whole file. But anyways, so you'll have to go on the YouTube and watch the end of it. All right. All right, let's go back to where we were. So we were just in the age of the Civil War, right after the Civil War ends. Now, remember, at this time in the world, as the world was developing and getting bigger, the Industrial Revolution was getting, all these things, America's growing because America was like new country, right? And so it's growing jobs. I mean, think of it. It's like a new Amazon plan. It's like freaking jobs just getting everywhere. Everywhere's opportunity. So legal immigrants started coming in. They opened up, like boats and stuff to come in, and so right after the Civil War, we had a surge of like Scottish and Irish immigrants. And of course, guess what? They brought a lot of their old world Halloween costumes and things like that. A lot of their like masks and things like that. A lot of the old world traditions. Also, the Scots, they believed in the bogies or bogeyman, the boogeyman, right? We always talk about the boogeyman. And it was a pestering ghost that seemed to plague children by hiding under beds or tapping on windows. Dude, that's like freaking scary, actually. Like that, like under the bed and shit like that, man, that always gets me. But that's where some of the boogeyman traditions, the under the bed and stuff, that goes back, guys. This isn't just from like, you think some of this stuff was just from movies. No. This goes back, okay? All right, now let's get into also around this time, we're going to talk about the origin of the jack-o'-lantern, okay? Because again, another iconic symbol of Halloween. These are all symbols shaping up to give us the modern Halloween. So jack-o'-lantern was actually a troublemaker, and he was so bad, like he was such a troublemaker that he got kicked out of hell. Mm-hmm. Kicked out of hell. That's how bad he was. He was so bad, he got kicked out of hell. The devil gave him an ember of coal to take with him, and he put it in a turnip. Okay? And of course, kids would cut out turnips and place candles inside, and of course, eventually the pumpkin harvest usually came around that same time. So Americans started using pumpkins. Again, like I said, the pumpkins would come in to harvest, and they're a lot easier than turnips. If you ever tried to carve a turnip versus a pumpkin, yeah, pumpkin's a little easier. So this is where we started getting the carved pumpkins. It all came from the jack-o'-lantern folk story. They also, kids figured out a funny, scary little trick they could do on people back then. So kids figured out that you could actually they would put a carved out pumpkin, even with the candle in it, on a stick. And, or sometimes they would, maybe not with the candles in it on that, but they would put a sheet over the pumpkin on a stick, and they would pop it up in people's windows and things like that. It was part of a prank to scare people. So again, this is where we start getting into, remember what we talked about earlier. There was a little bit of unruliness that was being associated right before Halloween, right? Because of those old traditions and the Guy Fawkes things, all that stuff. So kids were starting to do pranks. The Scots and Irish, and I'm part of both, so yay, thank me. The Scots and Irish also brought stone throwing and pranks. They're the ones that actually brought a lot of that from the old world traditions. And it started to become actually a dark routine for American boys to cause destruction. This is where, it started getting really bad. At the turn of this century, artists began to depict Halloween with witches, ghosts, skeletons, bats, pumpkins, and little devils. Again, this is right at that turn of the century. All those iconic things that we talked about was starting to take shape. And of course, artists started to summarize Halloween and start taking all these known associated things with Halloween. So the sheets of the ghosts, of course, that derived from burial wraps. Back then, they wrapped the dead in the sheets. So this became synonymous with, back then they were scaring people using sheets. I mean, that was a scary thing for people to see dead bodies wrapped in sheets. So again, cheap scares back then. We didn't have all the different latex masks and all the other stuff. This was simple times, and those things can scare you. So this is where we really get that the ghost type thing. But however, around the 1920s, Halloween pranks were actually getting out of hand. We're talking seriously, they were actually derailing trains, derailment, fires. They would move like people's steps, because the steps weren't always attached to the homes and things. They would move people's steps. People come out their house and get hurt, fall. They'd let animals out, cattle, goats. They'd let animals out to run around. And in fact, they even started calling it gate night because they would go around opening gates to animal pens. So 1933 actually was one of the worst ever. In fact, it became known as Black Halloween. Again, this was just out of hand, lawlessness almost starting to happen, major pranks.
That is so racist.
So civic groups actually started at parties to get kids away from destruction and having fun. Okay. So again, this is kind of where now you guys are starting to see we've started to come together with all these things and in the destructiveness side of Halloween. And you saw the traditions of offerings, going door to door and getting something in return for prayers or little cakes or whatever. But the exchange door to door, of course, the tradition of bonfires and Guy Fawkes and destructions and pranks. And now, again, in the early 1900s, we start getting all like the 1950s and all that stuff. These civic groups, again, neighborhoods, they're like, what do we do? So they start inventing Halloween parties, right? Let's get the kids, to have some fun instead of going out there and destructing things. And it actually started working, believe it or not. Things crying, all that stuff. The pranks started to come down quite a bit. And we started to see a little more of what traditional Halloween started to actually become, because now some of the companies decided to start making some masks out of paper. That was some of the first masks. Like kids will make them out of paper and things like that. There's some pretty creepy ones. If you look online, there's some pretty creepy masks that were homemade. probably better than what you get in the stores. But guess who came out with the box costumes? Anybody have a guess who came out with the box costumes?
Hasbro?
Huh?
Hasbro?
No.
Oh.
Sears. So Sears was major back then, right? Sears was a big company back then, and but they actually were one of the first ones to come out with like sort of that better costume, right? And some of us, even if you're old enough, you remember the smell, you remember everything about those cheap ass costumes, but they were cool back then. They were really cool. So parades. They actually used to do a lot of parades back then. Now nowadays, I don't know if you guys have seen any Halloween parades. We don't have any. I think a lot of Christians in the modern times started to push away from Halloween parades. But even back then in that 50s, 60s time frames, they actually started having a lot of parades to also help things become more mainstream with Halloween. Remember, the whole push was to get kids in a more productive, positive manner versus destruction. In fact, homeowners started to pay off tricksters with homemade treats. And a lot of these payoffs would be popcorn balls, candy apples, right? And I don't know about you, Stacy, but I'm sure you remember very first Halloween type stuff. You would get popcorn balls and some candy apples. I mean, it was still part of that, thing back then.
Candy corn, the nasty ass candy corn.
I went through a phase recently where I actually liked candy corn. Now I'm back away from it, but the term trick or treat actually showed up around 1939, was like one of the first times it showed up in print. And of course, candy companies, of course, jumped on board once they started realizing people were handing stuff out. Well, candy companies were, hey, they started making all the little mini stuff or candy bar, like, hey, hand this stuff out. So they started jumping out. And of course, pop culture was starting to catch on. Late 1960s. Guess what hit the TV? Charlie Brown took us trick-or-treating along with other cartoons like Donald Duck. So by the late 1970s, you started getting things like John Carpenter's Halloween, which went to the big screen, right? So again, as this also brought adults into the Halloween thing, because for a while it was just started to only become keep the kids off the streets, and it was like a kid thing. Well, then when John Carpenter did Halloween, now all of a sudden adults started getting more interested in Halloween and spooky and creepy and haunted and horror, and it birthed a lot of horror films, of course, along with the old, Dracula, the Bela Lugosi stuff and all that, of course. But again, that sort of more modern era filming of, again, the Halloween movie sort of really changed the way we look at masks and everything else.
Well, that was back when they used to actually show scary movies around Halloween. Once November came along, they'd stop doing the scary movies because it was now Christmas time. But up to like August, September, and October, it was scary movie season, and it was real scary movies. Now, what do you get? You get like Bros and whatever is. I mean, you get Shazam and now Black Adam. These aren't scary movies. These are action-packed movies. We need to see like real scary movies in Halloween. That's just the time of year. And they just don't do it anymore. I don't know what changed and why Hollywood seems to think that it's so much better now to do it at different times of the year. But Halloween's the best.
Yeah, so we had Rich said, I had a Casper mask and outfit. Donna Gordon says we still have town parades here. That's cool. I wish I could see a Halloween parade. I think that would be so fun. Yes, the vinyl smell, Donna Gordon said. I'm just trying to look back. I apologize if I missed your comment. I'm doing good, Lisa, as well as you. Yeah, okay. So they're talking. Okay. But yes. Oh, so candy-wise, I mean, I had like my moments, but certain ones, man, like the Bit-O Honeys, anything that was like really hard and tacky, I didn't really care for too much, like the hard caramels, Bit-O Honey, things like that, and of course black licorice. Like the freaking Gooden Planties, man. That sucked, man. Oh, and like, how many of you admit it? When you got some Gooden Planties, you tried to suck off the candy coating. You were so desperate, you'd save them for like last, and then you'd be so desperate you'd try to suck off the candy shell. And then once you got to that stupid black licorice taste, you're like, ah,
I liked it. I liked black licorice. It was good. You know, Good and Plenty.
He's that kid. Stacy's that kid.
Well, my hometown, we have a pumpkin festival parade every year. It's the last Sunday of October. Like this Sunday is going to be when the parade goes on. And my family was big into it. We had a float that we won first prize. I think it was 7 or 8 years running. And every year, my grandfather had created this giant scarecrow with the pumpkin head that literally was 30 feet tall. And my grandmother dressed up as a sexy witch and sat on the arm of that scarecrow on every float, even though the theme was always different with whatever they had. Sometimes it was Mother Goose theme. Sometimes it was just scary Halloween theme. Whatever it was, they had a different theme every year. That scarecrow and my grandmother sitting on the arm with her fishnet stockings was like, you know, the hit of the whole parade. And they actually made a decorative spoon of her sitting on that scarecrow that you can still buy today. And she's been dead for 10, 15 years. So.
Jeez. Yeah. I liked where I grew up out in the country, and like, I'm glad I got to at least show Terry Lynn to prove to her. She got to go up and see, you know, like where I grew up, and we got to do trick or treating in where I grew up. But when I grew up, of course, there were some less houses, even more country, so you had to really run, you know, back then. But we used to get full size candy bars. I mean, we got the hookup out in the country.
Yeah.
You rarely got like the little dinky stuff, but sometimes, of course, you'd get the popcorn balls or something. But you know, some of those older women, like the old ladies that gave you the popcorn balls, they were really proud of that. Like they thought that was like a real treat for you, you know.
Yeah. Well, the candy apple too.
And Terry Lynn even confirmed, yes, they give full size candy bars. I'm gonna be right back. Go ahead and talk, Stacy.
Okay. Well, you know, I grew up in the country too. My grandmother and my grandfather had a farmette, and you know, the whole idea of a float really came from a hay wagon that got dressed up with all kinds of different things on it. And my grandmother herself was an artist, and she created these costumes that were whatever was popular at the time. She literally created giant Care Bear costumes for every person. We had a big family. Everybody was a different Care Bear one year, with her sitting on the scarecrow from the arm. And one time it was Sesame Street. We had Big Bird, Ernie. I was Groucho, the garbage can. I got drugged behind in a green, garbage can, and wearing the Groucho costume. Depending on what the theme was, my grandmother literally adapted and created all new costumes to fit that theme. But every year she was the witch sitting on the scarecrow. And, you know, for whatever reason, they threw a lot of money at this parade as though it was like the biggest thing in the world, and won first prize, every year. So it was fun. It was when I was the eldest of all the kids. So I grew out of it pretty quick, but the rest of them, all my siblings and cousins and all that, they, to this day, will talk about the parades, because it was the thing. It was the Clark family parade float.
Right.
So
I remember some Halloween parades, but okay. So folks, let's do this. So it looks like we have a pretty good amount of viewers out there. Listen, we're going to be giving away one of these prints to one of you lucky viewers. Now, the way this is going to work, whoever wants to be part of this, remember, you'll have to email me your address information so we can get this shipped to you. One, you have to be located in the United States. I don't really want to send this overseas. But if you're watching and you don't mind sharing your address and email to me, then all you got to do is let me know in chat if you want to be part of this drawing. Now, what are we giving away? Okay. So we're going to be giving away one of these prints. So we have Predator, and you see how nice these are. This is from Fantasy Realm Art. Okay. Patrick Rasmussen, he's the artist. Love his work. He does amazing work. I mean, you can see, look how gorgeous that Predator is. I really wanted to keep this for myself. I'm not going to lie, but I can't. I can't because I'm going to give these away, or, I told him I'd give one of these away, or give these away. So either I'm going to do the Predator. Okay. We have Chucky cutting the little Jack in the Box. That's cool. Really like that one. You can see there's detail. And I'm sorry if the green screen kind of takes away some of the green out of some of this. But there you go. I'm going to give away one of these. Close your eyes if you're a little this is a little more mature. So it's got kind of the woman there, and then the reverse image is, of course, like a skeleton version type thing.
That really nice. Cool. I like that.
Yeah, so really classy, really classy.
Looks like Gina Carraro.
Ash. So really nice, very black and white with the red chainsaw. Lovely print, great artwork. I'm telling you. So again, whoever wants to be part of this drawing, let me know, and we'll put your name in for this. Okay, and we of course got a Western sort of a skull riders, almost like Western Ghost Riders. If you guys can see that, I'm not sure up close, but really nice. Like this one too, very well. And that's it, because the next thing was Everything Paranormal Show. Okay, so all right, now. So let me hear you guys in chat. Which one do you want me to give away? The Chucky, Predator, the woman, the horse riders, Ash? Let me know in the chat. And also let me know if you want to be in the drawing. Chat me, say drawing. Say something in chat about putting you in drawing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tear you guys' name. I'll put you guys on a little piece of paper. I got a little box here, and we're going to do a little drawing for one of you guys. So whoever wants in on this drawing, let me know in the chat. And, well, I'll tell you what. If you want in on the drawing and you win, I'll let you pick the one you want. How's that? I'll let you pick the one you want.
There you go.
All right. All right, so Donna wants in on the drawing. So I'm going to write down Donna's name here. We're going to tear that up. So there you go, Donna. We got you on there, like right here, Donna. We're going to put you in the box here. All right, you'll just have to trust me. I can't hold it in camera view the whole time. All right, so Donna's in. All right, Frogadelic, do you want to be in the drawing? Is that what you... All right, let the winner pick. Yeah, that's what I was going to do, Rich. So, Rich, did you want to be... I'm trying to look and see. Like I said, let me know if you want to be in the drawing. Type the word drawing in chat. Let me know that you want to be in the drawing. All right, Frogadelic. Now, remember, Frogadelic, if you do get picked, you'll have to email me your address so we can ship it out if you're the lucky winner. It goes with anybody watching. If you're the one. All right, and so we got Frogadelic 69. You're going in the box along with Donna, so you guys can see that. So far I got 2. What else do we got? I'll give it a little bit of time. We'll do the drawing here toward the end of the show. And if for some reason you have to leave, you can always come back on replay and watch and see if you won. And then you'll have to email me at Everything Paranormal Show. In fact, let me see if I can show you guys here. Yeah, right there. The email's down there. Everythingparanormalshow@gmail.com. Remember, just leave off the THE. It's everythingparanormalshow@gmail.com. I'll let the ticker scroll a little bit there so you guys can write it down. Oh, well, Rich, you can be if you want to get in on the drawing, you can, buddy. It's okay. All right, Boston.
I'm the only one that's excluded, apparently.
Yeah. Well, if you did it, Stacy, then people are gonna think there's like we're in.
I know. They think
it's rigged. It's rigged. Your co-host got it. Lost a few in chat, so give it time. All right. So yes, so far we've got 2. So that's not bad. Like it could be either Donna or Frog right now. So we'll give it a little bit of time as we start getting on the back half of things. Okay. Now I thought also while I had you guys, so I showed you the Trick or Sheet short film. I thought it'd be nice to show you guys the original version of Trick or Sheet. So this was the concept film. So what you're about to watch, this is not the final version. We watched that earlier. So if you missed it, go back and watch it, or go to my YouTube channel and look up Trick or Sheet short film. This is the original. I thought I would just share it on the live chat as part of the Halloween special. So you can see this was the original concept of me. I filmed this by myself just to see. I just was trying to this is kind of my way of storyboarding. So this was the concept version. I'll let you guys watch it right now. All right, so there you guys go. There you go. So that was the original concept that I did. You guys can, of course, see how it developed, and now you're kind of seeing a little bit of the ending. But if you want to see the official ending, definitely go and watch it on YouTube and click like and share, please. Again, we're just always trying to grow our channel. You guys have been amazing. So I'm sure Lisa and Catherine want in. She can read chat, but not type. Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely let me know if they officially want in, because again, I got to make sure that if we give it away, I want to be able to send it to them. So let them know if they want to reach us. Have them hit me up in chat real quick. Rich, let me know. Or you said which one can't chat, can't type. All right. Let's see. So we covered the origins of Halloween. I wanted to do a little bit. We did a little bit of candy talk. I wanted to talk a little bit about scary monsters, like in a lot of horror films, because this is the time of year that we watch different horror films, or whatever. I don't like to watch them, a lot of them, but I have seen a lot of them. And I did a video a few years ago where I ranked my top 25 kind of overall scary villains, I guess you'd say, or monsters that I found scary. I'm not going to go through that whole 25 list, but I will say that just a few mentions. At the lower side of my list, I'll share something with you guys. I actually was when I was younger, not younger. I mean, not too young, but younger. Believe it or not, I actually got a little scared by Audrey. Audrey too from Little Shop of Horrors. If you guys remember the Little Shop of Horrors, I got a little scared of that plant. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why. It just struck me. Again, this is low on the list, so don't judge me too bad. It's not high on the list. All right,
Feed me Seymour.
all right. So Catherine, right? Feed me, Seymour. All right. So we got Catherine. We're gonna put Catherine in here. There. You can see we got 3 entries in there. All right. And let's see. So, all right. So remember, guys, if you want in the drawing, let me know. We'll put you in there. Okay. As we move up the list, I had like King Kong kind of scared me, the original King Kong, like 1933 King Kong. That one kind of scared me. Tremors, right? The graboids from Tremors, those freaking earthworms, man. Those are pretty terrifying, man. I thought those were pretty good monsters. Also, if you guys remember the old 1963 movie, Jason and the Argonauts, the skeletons, man, like back then, again, I know like today the effects are, different, but man, back then, like those skeletons, man. Creature from the Black Lagoon, Gilman, Gremlins, Stripe from Gremlins, Gremlins was kind of scary. I even have like the Raptors from T-Rex. I thought they were pretty scary. I'm not saying I was like, oh my God, horror, but I'm just saying as far as good monsters that made you kind of nervous, tense, scared. The 1954 Godzilla. Now, I will say I had Reagan on here from The Exorcist. I think a little low on the list. I probably would raise her up. I think at the time, for some reason, it didn't strike a chord with me. But as I got older, Reagan got scarier for me. So I think because maybe back then I didn't think exorcist or possession was you know what I mean? Like I didn't quite grasp the possession and exorcism thing. Whereas I got older, I started learning about real life exorcisms and stuff like that. So I was like, anyways, Psycho and Jaws, yes. I have Jaws on here. I had Jaws as number 10. So his official name, Bruce. And no, not from the Disney shark, but that is in honor of Jaws' name, Bruce. Claymation Skellies, that's right. Stripe was evil. Some of the top ones, Freddy Krueger. He was like, he was the even though he was cheesy with some of his lines, man, there was something scary about him being able to invade your dreams. He felt like that kind of villain that would be like almost impossible. When you had those villains that you projected yourself as somebody that, like, God, maybe I probably wouldn't be able to get away from this villain. I mean, like anybody could just die, you know what I mean? And so those kind of got scary. I'm even wearing my Nightmare on Elm Street hat tonight, by the way. Jason Voorhees, of course, and of course the hockey mask. Not the very first one when it was like his mother or like him, and he was like some, I don't know. But when they worked out the character, he definitely got scary in that sense. The werewolf from the 1981 American Werewolf in London. Mm-hmm. That was a good one, man. That was scary to me back then. Like that was just, and I say back then, it's just, you got to remember, guys, at that time when movies came out like that, horror movies, scary movies, yes, the effects maybe to this day weren't, maybe they're a little cheesy now, but back then they were really good. I mean, and some of these were like, top effects for the time. Yeah. So, and I remember
practical effects too. There wasn't CGI back then. It was all practical effects.
Yeah, they make these real big, actual full life werewolf, like almost like animations, or sometimes have people in costumes. And in fact,
Michael Jackson in Thriller, they used the same Same guy who did the special effects in Werewolf in London did the Thriller video.
Yes. Now, remember, for those of you in chat, we're giving away your choice of one of these artistic prints. So if you want in on the drawing, if you win and you email me your address, I will send you one of these fantasy realm arts of your choice. Just want to make sure to let you guys know that if you want in on the drawing, let me know. And I will put you in the drawing. And before the show's done, we will. Chucky. Yeah, this is all prints from a very talented artist from Patrick Rasmussen from Fantasy Realm Arts. So there you go. So your choice of one of those amazing prints. If you want to let me know in the chat. Just let me know. Type in the word drawing in chat, and I will add you to the drawing. And here, probably in the next 10, 15 minutes or so, when we start ending the show, we'll do the drawing. Anyways, just wanted to remind you guys. I see some people that when they pop in and out of chat. One of the top creatures that got to me with as far as like just kind of a scariness, like a feeling of craziness, was the xenomorph from Aliens. Not so much Alien. I thought Alien was scary. Okay. Lisa, Ryan, we got you in here. All right. So now looks like we got 4 people for sure. It's going to be in there. All right. Okay. And we'll add Rich. I'm good to see Rich in here. All right. I know it's hard to resist those artwork, man. Such good stuff. So now you guys can see everybody's names in there. And it says yes, classic and originally Howling. Eddie, yes. Oh yeah. But yeah, the xenomorph, the alien, and for me, it's a lot more from the second one, from Aliens with an S, because that xenomorph, there was an actual person in a lot of the costume. Like they had this full body costume, this dude, and like he'd go running through the tunnel. Like it just, to me, there was something about the design of that alien, them in that situation. There was this claustrophobia to the movie as well. It just really struck me and gave me just that sense of dread and fear. I really thought that, to me, that was one of my top scary, monster / villains that I really liked.
Game over, man. Game over.
Bless your soul, Bill Paxton. And Terry Lynn did also mention, I wanted to also throw out there, Terry Lynn did remind us that the original guy that played Jason from Friday the 13th, the very first guy that played Jason, had passed away just recently. I think it was like in his 90s, wasn't he, honey? I think you said he was like 92 or something. I don't know. But yeah, I just thought I'd pass that out there. The transformation freaked me out. Yeah. And considering they didn't have CGI. Yeah, I mean, the way that they would work in the effects, again, like even Stacy talked about a lot of practical effects. They really had to be clever in trying to make stuff look really good. And we've gotten so used to CGI and having to cheat. And even now, I think there's a certain amount of CGI that we're just kind of like, whatever. Like, we kind of know the tricks now. Like, whereas back then, you're like, how did they do that? How did they pull that off? Because you really didn't have CGI. You didn't have those type of computer trickery. So it's really crazy.
No, I can't wait. I wanted you to see it because you made it. I wanted you to see it. Look, I haven't domed it yet.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, this is one of Terry Lynn's just recent creations, like hot off the press. This is a red and black board with the dragon. Really gorgeous. It's like a really gorgeous deep red and gold lettering. Very good looking
It's
colors.
got a lot of clear quartz
And
on
of course, the dragons all put together very nicely from Terry Lynn, the crystals, the stuff, if you really, I can't wait till you guys see. If you want to see, so go to BeyondDeVeil 2022.
You probably have to spell it out.
Okay. BeyondDeVeil. I don't think I have it in the banner. Let me look and see.
Go to my TikTok.
It's on TikTok, by the way. If you have TikTok, let me see here. I'll try to see if I can put it in the banner for you guys. Okay, so if you look in here toward the end of the ticker, you'll see where it says TikTok BeyondDeVeil 2022. So for those of you that have TikTok, if you want to see more of the boards, if you want it, like Terry Lynn does amazing custom boards. Like I said, she puts a lot of heart and soul, very, very good detail. And it's hard to see on this camera because I have green screen. So it really hides at certain shades of greens and things like that and some of the tints of color. So to really get a good, full, gorgeous look at them, we're starting to put them on TikTok. So we just debuted one of the Maleficent style colors, like a deep purple with black. Thank you, Rich. Yes, very good craftsmanship. I mean, Terry Lynn puts a lot of heart and soul into those. But we are going to be displaying them on TikTok, and we will eventually be putting them on Etsy. We sold a ton of them at CreepyCon, but now we've been resupplying and coming up with even new colors, new concepts. So you definitely guys need to check out the TikTok. Okay. So did we get anybody else for the drawing? So we got quite a bit. We're going to be getting to that real soon. We're going to be getting to the drawing really soon. Rich's mom, hi. It's good to see you in there. All right. That's Big Papa to you. All right. What else? What other scary creatures that you guys thought were scary? I've got quite a few of them in here. And yes, the 1983, one of the creatures that scared me a little bit, the Rancor from Return of the Jedi. Back then, man, when Luke fell into that Sarlacc pit and that thing was unleashed, and then it ate that Gamorrean guard, and like Luke was up and he didn't have his light. I'm like, where's his lightsaber? And I'm like, oh my God, he doesn't have one. He lost it in Empire Strikes Back. And I was like, oh my God, how's he going to get out of this? But that thing was gnarly. It was dripping stuff. I mean, scary when you're younger back then, man. I thought the Rancor, and these are some people overlook some of these creatures, but man, when you're younger, some of these creatures, man, and the effects back then. Another one that got me was the 1981 Clash of the Titan movie, Medusa. Remember Medusa? Man, that bitch was freaky with the snakes and then the thought that she could just turn you to instantly stone. Like what if I accidentally look, and what if I just I'm stone, it's like it could accidentally happen. Like the thought of that was scary. So was there anything for you, Stacy, that really kind of bugged you? Like, was there something that kind of got under your skin?
Yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, The Thing.
That one was creepy. Because, I mean, it wasn't just like a thing. It was a multicellular organism that could, it could be as little as a drop of blood, and it could take over and be a whole new thing. Like it was an infection.
Right.
Could come get you. And it didn't like getting burned. So it would, break away from itself and create a new thing. Like a head would turn into a giant spider and try and run away. That was freaky. All the guys that were standing there were looking at it like, what in is that?
I actually have The Thing as number 2.
Really?
Underneath Xenomorph.
I haven't seen the new one because I don't want to ruin it. John Carpenter was like the best. So
Yeah, unfortunately, like even like when Rich was talking about Pinhead, I mean, I know they changed up Pinhead now. I believe it's a female
Yeah.
Pinhead. I don't know if I'll see it or not. And I'm not just saying that because of the female thing. I just don't know. Like, I really hate when they keep trying to remake these movies or keep messing with some of these legacy characters, no matter what the property is. It just seems like so many, they're just so desperate to cash in on the Hollywood industry that they're just going after anything they can instead of really coming up with original movies.
Yeah. Let's see how we can make it woke. Let's ruin it and see how we can make it woke. Then, of course, everyone will just love it.
Frogadelic said when he was young, or when they were young, pink elephants off Dumbo. Dumbo was just a sad, like that was just kind of a scary. Like some of the Disney movies when you're young, like some of the old Disney movies, some of them were pretty scary. In all honesty, they weren't like the normal feel good, type things they are nowadays. There was some pretty scary and dark themes. I mean, if you really go back, even something like, and I was a little older, I think, when this came out, but if you really even look at something like The Hunchback of Notre Dame, right? You look at that movie and the bad guy in there and some of the themes, there's some pretty dark stuff. But yeah, I mean, like I just wanted to, since you mentioned Dumbo, I had to get in there. But yes, I agree. Leave the classics alone.
Tim Burton's Halloween, or not Halloween, but Sleepy Hollow.
Yes. And again, that was what, Jack-o'-lantern, wasn't it? Or that was the Headless Horseman?
The Headless Horseman. Everything in that movie was creepy. I mean, from beginning to end, it was. Tim Burton is just messed up. Even the kids, the little boy that was supposed to be all cute and innocent looking was creepy. Christina Ricci, when she was young, she had really big eyes. I mean, she was creepy looking back when she was a kid. She doesn't have that now, but Tim Burton just made everything absolutely weird, no matter what it was in that movie. And it, from beginning to end, you just didn't feel right.
Yeah. I see. Says Bambi, sad face. Yeah, I mean Bambi and Dumbo. Those were like they're really good stories, but they're also the kind that they have a hard rewatchability for me. Because again, they're sad in nature. They're just, I know that there's kind of like happy endings in a way, but there's just some of that's just sad. Like I just can't deal with some of that. Fantasia and Ichabod, yeah, yeah. Like I said, some of the original, like Maleficent, the Evil Queen. Some of these were like the dragons on there, and when the Princess Battle, it was like intense back then. Like they turned these huge dragons, and of course, as kids, we wanted to be the prince to slay the dragon, but at the same time, it's like it was scary back then. Pennywise, I think for me, the newer Pennywise is a little creepier. But there is something about the original Pennywise, Tim Curry. There was something innately creepy about it because I think the one thing I'll say is like new It compared to old It. I think performances are fine. I'm not worried about that. But I think at the same time, if you really think about it, Tim Curry, his clown looked like a clown. And it was meant to attract kids. It wasn't meant to be creepy looking. When you look at the new It, he's creepy looking. I mean, what kid really wants to go toward that clown? All right. Whereas Tim Curry's normally like he was goofy and over the top, and the kids would want to go to him. So, and then the scary stuff would happen. So to me, there is something innately scarier about Tim Curry's goofy looking clown compared to the creepier looking modern clown. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the modern one, I haven't seen the new one. Is the new one he's a pedophile too, like Freddy Krueger?
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. Like the new one The new one's not bad either. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's better or whatever, but it's worth watching just to see, like both it and it too. The new ones, they're worth watching. I think they did a decent job. Had they been remade right now in 2022, I think we would have seen something different. But I think it's worth watching. Like if you haven't watched the remakes, then you should watch them.
I like that actor. I can't remember what his name is now. His
I know.
Is the Viking guy. It's like they don't look anything alike each other, but they're brothers. God, can't remember what his name is now. Anyway, I really like the actor. He's been in a lot of things that I like. He was in Deadpool 2. He was the vomit guy in Deadpool 2.
Real quick, folks. There's a few more people hiding out in chat that's not really talking. Remember, if you're watching this and you want to be part of the drawing, then say something in chat. Just type the word drawing and you'll be entered. We're about to probably give away one of these prints. You'll have your choice. Again, we've got the Predator. We've got Chucky cutting the head off of his Jack in the Box It doll. We've got the naked woman / mirrored skeleton version, really classy. We got that one. We got Ash. So you guys are fans of Ash. These are all prints from the artist Patrick Rasmussen, who does what's called Fantasy Realm Art is the name if you want to look them up. They're at many of these conventions and stuff. He does a lot of the airbrush. He does a lot of this artwork right there. Has a ton of it for display, but just amazing prints. The guy does great work. So as you guys can see, you'll have your choice of those prints. So make sure you let me know if you want to be involved in the drawing because we're going to be doing that real soon. What do we got? The new Vision of Willy Wonka. So let me catch up on a few little things. The new Charlie and the Chocolate Factory has a dark version of Willy Wonka. Yeah, I mean, the class. I mean, look, I like Johnny Depp's performances in a lot of things, but there's a few things it just don't work for me. And I think for me, the newer Willy Wonka, just it just don't do it for me on that. I'm sorry, you're not gonna. You really can't top Gene Wilder's performance on that. I'm sorry, he nailed it.
It was the same character in Alice. He was the Mad Hatter in that.
Yeah.
I mean, Willy Wonka and the Mad Hatter were the same person.
Yeah. And but now on the same side, there are certain characters that Johnny Depp will always be. I mean, his performance in like Edward Scissorhands was amazing. And of course, as the pirate, Jack Swallows, whatever his name is.
Jack Sparrow.
I don't know why I was like blanking out. But his performance as Jack. Why am I Sparrow?
Jack Sparrow.
Why do I keep saying Jack Swallows? It's like I watched like a porn version or something. Jack Swallows. I'm done. The
Captain
pirate.
Jack Sparrow.
So he'll always be a good Jack. Like nobody can. I feel sorry for like all these pirate dinner shows out there when everybody's now comparing. Like we're talking dinner shows that were out even before the movies back then. You know what I mean? Like those medieval times, and then they had the pirate things like they do over here in Gatlinburg and stuff. And like, think about it. These poor pirates now are all going to be judged and held to that standard. And I'm sorry, but Johnny Depp killed it. He did kill it on that.
On that note, he was the first one killed by Freddy Krueger in the first Freddy Krueger movie.
Yes, that's true. Sucked into the bed, the blood. One of the things I always liked, and this was a testament to Wes Craven. One of the details, if you look in that scene after the police are there, I love the fact that the police are there. There's blood, right? Hit the ceiling, everything. You see in the background, these police actually they're putting like pans like under, like trying to catch the drips of it's just like little details like that are great. So if you ever watch that, go back and watch that scene and look in the background when the cops are there. You'll see what I'm talking about. So, um, so yeah, guys, sorry about that. I was trying to keep up with the chat on that. Sorry. Yeah, I know. I don't know why. Just sometimes like, and I've the Jack Sparrow thing. Sorry about that. I just kind of get stuck in that. I was locked in that weird name. Yeah, Curry rocked it. I got that. Let's see what other kind of things. And like I said, we're getting ready to wrap this up, folks. So I'm trying to think of some other last minute stuff here that I saw. Pinhead, which Rich mentioned earlier, or even really you could say Pinhead and even a lot of the other Cenobites. They were all scary. Like really, when they showed up, the Cenobites, all scary. Pinhead again is a classic character, but really, any of that, I think to me was kind of scary. What was it? Oh my God, was it Phantasma with the ball?
Disney one?
No. What's the one with the?
Oh, the Phantasma. That was the
ball and the blades and the
right.
Yeah, that was like
Taker.
Phantasm. Yeah, Phantasm. That was another scary one because that was also part of, like with Hellraiser and Phantasm. Like those were all like the gory kind of stuff. Like you had your different genres of horror. You had like your gore. You had just like your
Phantasm
psychological.
is the worst movies ever. They gave me nightmares. The tall man and those little midget. What do you call those cute people in
Ewoks?
Yeah, well, these are evil Ewoks over there.
Phantasm, the tall guy with the evil Ewoks. There you go. And the ball. I think they did a cool job with as far as good monsters. The bugs from Starship Troopers. If you guys know that movie, I think that was pretty cool. They had some bugs that came in and did some pretty cool damage to the people. Creepiest creature in a movie was the mini albino Jabba the Hutt looking dude from Blade. Oh, you're talking about are you talking about the big old heavyset vampire?
Who had a voice like Michael Jackson?
It was like the overweight vampire guy. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Blade was pretty cool. Like I think Blade was one of the first kind of comic book movies. Believe it or not, and it actually was very successful. It was one of the movies that started to open the door for future comic book movies. We hadn't got into that. Back then it was kind of like a real risk. And of course things like Batman and stuff like that. Blade. Are
you saying that Black Panther wasn't the first movie that starred an African American in it? It was Blade. Oh my God. My whole world.
Rich, Phantam. Oh my God, my fat figures. Yeah, your fat figures need to lose some weight. The big one was named Pearl. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right, Pearl. They put a light on him. He's like,
yeah. So it's been fun. It's been fun doing a little bit of trip down some of the scary monsters in movies. Things that, again, my list when I came out with it was more of like what monsters I thought were scary to me. Now I do get like the Japanese style horror is a little scary for me. My wife likes it. Like we actually watched The Ring 1 and 2 for the first time recently. Although I thought that was okay. The Grudge back when it came out, like that kind of Japanese style horror. Pretty much any bitch with the long hair over there in front of their face, anything like that, and of course the sliding, doors, the
dripping water everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you get any kind of the Japanese village thing, and bitches with dark hair over their face, yeah, I'm out, man. That's just scary. So, all right. So, guys, I know you're wanting to probably get to the drawing. So, let's see here. Is there any last minute folks that want to get in on this drawing? I'm trying to give an opportunity for everybody. If you didn't see me write down my name, you might want to remind me. Terry Lynn said, hold on. She yelled out, hold on. So it's been fun. Thank you. Spawn had the demonic clown. Donna, love you. Be good. Okay, so yeah, we're about to do the drawing here. Announcement, everyone. Josh will be live again soon. He's playing a very scary game live. Yeah, so for those of you, if you, I've been playing a game called Madison here lately. I think we're on part 4. But you know, if you want to, I'm going to be doing that live here a little later, probably closer to midnight is usually when I play. I usually take a small break from here, let my ass rest for a second by getting up and walking around. And I'll come back and usually play that around 12 o'clock. Okay, so now remember, we do this every Thursday. And okay, so every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern time is when we usually do the show. Okay, so we've got everybody's in here. I'm going to try to show you guys one more time here. We got Rich, Lisa, Donna, everybody's in here. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to kind of stir this around real good. I'm just kind of shuffle it around because I really don't know who's what or whatever. Try to shuffle around. Okay. Real good shuffle. Okay, here we go, guys. Real good shuffle. And remember, you're going to get to choose which one you want. Now, remember, you just have to email me. And if you look down there on the ticker, there's my email. So make sure everybody writes down my email, everythingparanormalshow@gmail.com. Okay, here we go. All right. Now, we got everything mixed up. Again, I don't know. Let's just shake it around one more time. All right. And here we go. Open it up. I'm going to reach in. It's going to be Catherine. Catherine. The one person that can't type. No. Catherine, we need to know which one you want. So does anybody know Catherine? Now, keep in mind, look, guys, I'm going to be giving away the other ones, the other prints, whenever we have more shows. So, guys, every Thursday, come back. We're going to be giving away more prints. And as you can tell, right now, we've only had like what? How many of you did? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only like 5 of you in here. So, you know, the odds are real good. The odds are a lot better than some of these. So Catherine, we need to know which one she wants. The Predator or Catherine, if there's a way you can, if you guys can reach her, let her know. Now, in the event, if she doesn't claim this by, what is it, Thursday, we'll give her till like Sunday night. So by the end of the weekend, if I don't hear from you, we'll have to have it go back into the pool. But we've got Predator that you can choose from. We got Chucky with the it. We've got the woman. Stacy's like, don't pick that one. Stacy wants that one. We may have to let Stacy on one of these. All right. We got Ash. And of course, the Western Ghost Rider type things. All right. I call them Ghost Riders because they're all kind of skeleton, you know, but really classy, really good looking. It's got a hint of browns, like that kind of desert Western feel.
You see what Rich said? She wins all the time. She even won your book from his show.
Oh my God. So apparently Catherine has a lot of good luck with her. She tends to win a lot of drawings according to Rich. So that's awesome. She even won my book from his show. So Catherine, you already won my book. My Paranormal, A Guide to the Spirit Realms by Josh Morris, available on Amazon and on sale right now. So if you didn't win it, folks, you can go get one. You can go get a copy. And if you don't want paperback, I do have digital for sale as well. Lisa says, I want the Chucky. Well, it might be available. I don't know. We'll have to see what Catherine wants. So, Catherine, if you watch this, if you can email me, again, email me at everythingparanormalshow@gmail.com. It's right there on the ticker. Email me and let me know which one you want and let me know your address so I know where to send it. Okay? All right, folks. So what do you think? What did you think about the show tonight, the Halloween special? You guys like it? How about you, Stacy?
It's great. We covered a lot.
Can Catherine go play at the casino for me? You have to go to the casino and play? That sounds like a hard thing to do right now. Like, man, I go to the casino and go play. Gosh darn it. But no, folks, thank you so much. I'll probably keep all the names in the box. I'll probably keep all y'all's names in the box. That way, maybe next week, if we give away one next week. But Thursday at 9 p.m., you guys come back here. We're going to probably give away another one. And for those of you, if you have a chance and you want to come back at midnight, watch the live scary game and watch me scream like a little bitch and cuss a lot, you can come back and watch that. Also, again, on the ticker, guys, we've got so much stuff. We've got TikTok. If you want like those spirit boards and some beautiful craftsmanship stuff that my wife's been doing. We've got mini boards, big boards that we're going to be debuting. We're getting ready to release our Etsy shop. We've already been selling things live at some conventions. But if you want to see them, preview them, and be some of the first people to try to get on the waiting list, go to TikTok, BeyondDeVeil 2022 on TikTok to see those. So make sure you click on that. Of course, we have Tep's Ghost Hunting on TikTok. We've got the Facebook. We're everywhere there. So, guys, it's been really great. I love all you guys. You guys have been so good. I mean, seriously, I hope you guys have a happy Halloween. I really enjoyed this live. It was so much fun. I was so glad to see you guys in chat tonight, Rich and Lisa and Frog and Donna and Terry Lynn. Of course, my wife, Terry Lynn, she's always in there usually. If I missed you, then I apologize. ICU was there early in the chat. And of course, Sandra, Rich's mom, it was good to see you pop in there and say something too. So all of you that came in here and said something, thank you all so much. Like, share our channel, and we'll see you next Thursday. Thank you so much. And remember, seek the truth.
Peace.